This perp back with another video, and I just got out of watching Beetlejuice. This is just going to be my non-spoiler thoughts on this movie. I had to rewatch the first Beetlejuice because I don't really remember anything from that movie. It's been such a long time since I watched it. I was never a huge Beetlejuice fan like that. I like Michael Keaton and other things besides Beetlejuice. It just never really appealed to me. I understand that's a classic movie, and rewatching it, yeah, it definitely is, a classic movie. It's just not my cup of tea. Now, did Beetlejuice kind of pull me back into this universe, or just kind of change my perception on everything? Do I like Beetlejuice even more? I still kind of feel the same way. You do have some new faces in here. Jenna Ortega plays Winona Ryder's daughter, Astrid, or however you pronounce her name. Winona Ryder's character, Lydia, is now a mom, dealing with a lot of grief, and there's a lot of death in the family. And her and Astrid don't really kind of get along throughout this movie. They have kind of like a weird relationship because Astrid doesn't really believe in the whole supernatural thing, but boy, does she get a whole kind of wake-up call in this movie. And on top of that, you see Lydia. She's now kind of has her own kind of show, kind of mocking paranormal activity and stuff like that, called The Ghost House. And she's married to this dude, Rory, that's played by Justin The Rock, that also played Kevin Garvey in The Leftovers. Just had to shout that out. He's a fantastic actor. In this, he kind of plays the guy that kind of just wants to use Lydia. That's all I would kind of say with that. Beetlejuice himself, Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, you don't see much of him, but there's this whole subplot of he has this like ex-lover that, is absolutely crazy, and she's a soul sucker. Legit, that's what they call her. She's a soul sucker, and very intimidating, and then just nothing. I felt like they were going somewhere with that. I was like, okay, I'm digging this. It seems like this is going to be the main villain, but that just ended up being very disappointing. Other aspects, I like Jenna Ortega's storyline in here, where she kind of falls for somebody, and that might end up costing her life. That's all I'll say about her storyline. I thought she probably had the most interesting storyline. Catherine O'Hara is also in this as well. She does a really good job, because in the first movie, her and Lydia don't really get along, but here it's like they're trying to make it work. Something happens to her character, and they also explains what happens to Charles, where he ends up biting the dust. I'm not going to tell you how. I think it's pretty funny. We definitely get to see more of the afterlife kind of realm. We have Willem Dafoe in here. He plays like this cop, and he's not really a cop. He's an actor that thinks that he's a cop. It's pretty funny. And there's just a lot of interesting storylines, just the relationship between Lydia and Astrid, and just that whole mother-daughter dynamic that I feel like is just a mess in this movie, because it's a lot of different storylines going on at once. The whole storyline of Beetlejuice wanting to marry Lydia, so he can, get into the real world, which was really weird. When I rewatched this movie, I was just like, okay, Tim is a weird guy. I don't know what's going on with that. Like, at that time, Lydia was like, 16? So, really weird. And they even kind of addressed it, but they also kind of doubled down in this movie. Very just weird creative choice, I guess, but it just kind of fits within Beetlejuice's nature. Whatever. Okay. But yeah, like I said, there's just a lot of different characters in this that the first half of this movie felt like it had decent pacing and you could follow along with what's going on. But then it gets to the third act and it just becomes a complete mess, to the point where I just felt like everything was very much rushed, where you could have really took the time to actually give proper send-offs to all these kind of different storylines that you're doing. It just didn't really mesh well. They're just trying to do too much. There's definitely a lot of nostalgia packed into this movie as well. A lot of callbacks from the first movie. It's an entertaining movie. I just feel like it's a mess overall, from its pacing to some of the writing is a little janky. But there's some good moments, some moments that I didn't expect. Like, there's a little bit more um, sexual content within this movie. It's definitely a lot gorier than I imagined. It's pretty gory. I was like, damn, is this almost like rated R at this point? Like, they really pushed the PG-13. It just sucks that the story is pretty lackluster, in my opinion. But you might actually enjoy this if you're a fan of the first one. This is just me coming in as like a non-fan of the Beetlejuice like kind of name and just the brand. So you might actually love this movie. This is just kind of my thoughts. The first one is not that impressive to me, but I understand why it's classic. I feel like it has a better overall kind of story, and I feel like it was a little bit paced better. Still has kind of janky CGI. There's definitely some janky CGI in this movie as well, very much so. I think they could have, what Tim should have done with the special effects is you could have kind of cleaned it up. You didn't have to make it look so reminiscent of back in the day, where now you have better technology. I think it was just a kind of poor decision, even though there are some cool designs, very Tim Burton-esque. The dude's a weird guy. But I want to know your thoughts. Is this better than the first, or is it worse? Let me know how you guys feel about it. Till next time, I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.